We can see you, yes. Yeah. Okay, Patrick, very welcome.
Oh, Patrick.
Okay, we're good to go. Okay, members, we'll go into public session.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, I now declare the meeting open to the public. Welcome members to the first meeting of the Public Accounts Committee in this mandate. Can I advise members that the committee meeting will be recorded and broadcast throughout Parliament buildings and online. However, there could be a slight delay in moving to any private session or back into public session, so please be patient. Can I advise those in the gallery that they are very welcome to use mobile devices as long as they are in airplane mode and all devices are muted. They can connect to the Assembly Wi-Fi. Password details are available on the gallery rules. It is not permitted to take photographs or any recording of the meeting. Okay, members, will proceed. Are members aware of any apologies? No, we're full house. Good start. Okay. Deputy Chairperson, members, I am pleased to formally introduce and publicly welcome you all to the first meeting of the Public Accounts Committee. Can I advise members that I met informally with the C&AG in brief for an overview of her role and how the Audit Office can support the committee. Members will be receiving a first day brief from the C&AG and our team later in this meeting today. Can I advise members that the Deputy Chair and I met with the Treasury Office of Accounts, the TOA, Mr Stuart Stevenson and from the Department of Finance in relation to his role vis-à-vis the committee. Mr Stevenson will be providing his first day brief to our meeting on the 29th of February. Can I refer members to the memo from the clerk pages at pages 8 of your pack and advise members that all Assembly members are required to register relevant financial and other interests in the Register of Members' Interests. Details of registered interests are published on the Assembly website, and can I advise that in addition to this requirement, Standing Order 69.5 states that a member who A, a financial interest in any matter, or B, a relevant interest in any matter, must declare that interest before taking part in any proceedings of the Assembly relating to that particular matter. In particular, there's a requirement to declare any interest which might reasonably be thought by others to influence the member's approach to the matter under consideration. Can I inform members that proceedings of the Assembly include meetings of this committee, and also advise that as this is the first meeting of the committee, members should ensure that any financial or other interests which relate to the remit of the committee or which are likely to be relevant to a substantial part of its work are drawn to the attention of the committee. It should be noted that failure to register and or declare an interest may be an offence under Section 43 of the Northern Ireland Act 1998. Does any member have any interest to declare? We'll start with, let's say, no? Okay.
Oh, I do, yeah. So, I own a residential property in Tyrone from which rental income is received. I'm a committee member of Ahalou Gaelic Football Club, recently a director of Willowbank Disability Organisation, vice chairperson of Ahalou Credit Union, vice chairperson of Brantry Area Rural Development Association, and secretary of Brantry Cultus.
Thank you, Colin. David?
I've declared in my form I am development officer in Glenaby, St Joseph's Glenaby GAC. I'm a director of a limited company, TAS Homes, for which I receive dividends from, and I have a shareholding in TAS Properties, another property company I used to work in, which I also receive dividend revenue from.
Thank you.
Chair, just on my behalf, it's on declaration of interest, so all declared there.
Okay.
Mine's the same. Yeah. All declared in the Assembly.
Okay, and again, also just for the record, I have clearly outlined and declared all interests on the members' register of interest as published on the Assembly, but for the sake of public record and transparency today, I'm a company director, 2 companies, member of a local GA club, and that's as exciting as mine gets. So thank you, members, for those declarations. Can I
Daniel
Advice-
Drysdale online here.
Oh, sorry, Padraig, go ahead.
No problem. Yeah, just the declare director for Bloody Sunday Trust, director of Museum of Free Derry, and a governor at Holy Child Primary School as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Apologies for that as well. Okay, can I advise members that the clerk will record any declaration of interest made by members in the minutes of the first meeting, and remind members that the rules governing the registration and declaration of interest are contained in the Code of Conduct and Guide to the Rules relating to the conduct of members, and that further advice and guidance is available from the Clerk of Standards in room 254 in Parliament Buildings. Can I refer members to pages 11, details of committee membership, and ask if members are content to note. Members content?
Yep.
Okay, I think it's important, given that this is the first meeting of this Public Accounts Committee in this mandate, I think it's entirely appropriate that we do a brief introduction just of the committee membership for the record. So we will start with Mr. Boylan. All right, Cal.
Cathal Boylan, Sinn Féin MLA for Newry and Armagh, and I've been on this committee for a number of years, so looking forward to working with you all, and I want to wish the Chair and Deputy Chair all the best in the new roles.
Thank you. Colin Gildernew, Sinn Féin from Anna South Tyrone, and this is my first time on this committee, and I'm looking forward to working with you all as well.
Do the Honeyford Alliance MLA for Lagan Valley, first time on this committee as well. I thought I was coming to the Plan Appeals Committee when they said PAC initially. So I actually asked what I had done to deserve that, but then I realised PAC was not my old life and was Plan Appeals.
Declaration of interest.
Yeah. So thank you. Look forward to working with everybody and yourself, Daniel. Thank you.
Don't speak so soon, you may be wishing you're on the other committee. Okay.
I'm Tom Buchanan, DUP Assembly Member in West Tyrone. Been on here for quite a while in Stormont, and this is the first time on this committee. So we look forward to working with the committee and with the Chair and Vice Chair.
Thank you. I'm Cheryl Burney. I'm MLA for East Antrim. This is my first time on the committee, and I can't wait to work with you all, particularly the Chair. I work for David Hilditch, who enjoyed his time very much on PAC, so I can't wait to get involved.
Diane Forsyth, South Down, DUP MLA, first time on the committee as well on this side. I started out my career working for the Audit Office, training as an accountant, and worked there for 10 years, so I used to service this committee, so I'm looking forward to being on this side of it and hopefully getting some good impacts working with you all.
Robbie Butler, Ulster Unionist Party, Lagan Valley, and I had a brief honour of being on PAC from 2016 to 2017.
All right, and Padraig?
Yeah, Padraig Delargy, Sinn Féin MLA for Derry, and it's my first time on the committee as well.
Thank you. Members, Daniel McCrossan, as you saw, and West Tyrone is my second time on the committee. I was previous Deputy Chair with Robin Swan as Chair in 17. I think, Robbie, we were on the committee together. And Cathal, maybe you were there at that time too, I think, probably.
Well,
I may have slept in at a time.
You just got out by that stage, Chair, but I'll soon follow suit.
Okay, thank you. Members, can I advise members that contact details for committee office staff are at page 12 of your pack, and please note the importance of contacting staff if you're unable to attend a meeting. Staff are there to also provide support and advice, so please do not hesitate to make contact where appropriate. Can I ask members if you're content to note?
Yep.
And can I just reinforce that point, members? Obviously, this role is slightly different than other committees, and it may take a while to familiarise yourself with the process. So please do consider that invitation by committee staff to help and assist where appropriate. In order for us to be effective as a scrutiny body, we need to ensure that we can do it appropriately and effectively, and the committee staff are best placed to help guide where need be. So it is very kind that that's there. Can I seek agreement to go into closed session to discuss committee procedures?
Great.
Okay, members. Thank you. Okay. Are we in closed?
Just waiting for
Okay, thank you. Can I declare the meeting open for the remainder of the meeting? Can I highlight for the record that the committee made a number of decisions during the closed session. The committee noted arrangements for committee meetings and agreed that committee meetings should be held in public session unless committee agrees that there is an overriding reason for proceedings to be closed. The committee understands completely the importance of openness and transparency in ensuring effective scrutiny in the public interest, and therefore only when it is wholly unavoidable will we be in, and necessary, will be in closed session. We noted staff contact details, noted the outcomes of an effective committee, and agreed a committee approach to dealing with the correspondence and requests for meetings which are not linked to strategic priorities or statutory duties. The committee also agreed an approach to preparation and witness questioning. The committee also agreed to adopt committee protocol on conduct and courtesy at committee meetings, and the committee noted the approach to the use of social media and how the committee Twitter account could potentially be used going forward. We noted the guidance on the following: powers and operation of standing and ad hoc committees for chairpersons and members, the role of the chairperson, and the role and functions of the committee office. Agenda item 7, Public Accounts Committee 2017-22 Legacy Report. Can I refer members to page 70 of the meeting pack, where a copy of the predecessors committee's legacy report is included. This report sets out the key activities, outputs and achievements of the previous committee and highlights a range of issues that it believed this committee may wish to take account of when considering its priorities. Before I ask the clerk to speak to the legacy report, I think it's entirely and wholly appropriate that we remember and pay tribute to David Hilditch, who was a long-term member of this committee, and our thoughts and prayers are with his colleagues and his family at this time. Okay, clerk, you can refer to the report.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So I'll just sort of go through the key highlights from the 2017-2022 mandate. While it was quite a short period, in that time PAC produced 14 reports that crossed the various departments, including health, finance, economy, education, infrastructure, justice and communities. The full list is at page 7 of the legacy report. And again, just to give you a bit more of a flavour, the committee had a keen interest in education and completed 2 reports, one on special education needs and the other on closing the gap between social deprivation and educational attainment. At the end of the last mandate, they did a very extensive inquiry into planning in Northern Ireland. They also covered broadband, digital transformation, addiction services, speeding up the justice system, major capital projects and capacity and capability in Northern Ireland Civil Service. Those are some, there are others, but I just to give you an idea of the broad range. And as I was saying, you know, this committee can cover a lot of ground in quite a few areas. So, and I would like to say that despite the challenges of COVID-19 and the pandemic, the previous committee managed to undertake 35 evidence sessions. So it was a very busy time. Witnesses included, along with departmental accounting officers, there were some stakeholders and NGOs, we had academics giving expert opinions, we had the current Hawks in several times on one of the inquiries as well, and just to generally talk about her new role. So it was pretty varied. There was a school visit as well for one of the inquiries. We had a number of pieces of correspondence dealing with issues from whistleblowers, and also an unusual number of ministerial directions, which again is something that you'll hear more about throughout the next few weeks. A lot of that again was around COVID-19 and the cost of living crisis, and just sort of those sorts of pressures that the public purse faced at that time. In terms of some of the themes then, what came out very strongly was the need for greater collaboration across departments, greater, stronger lines of accountability, and the need for early intervention to address these issues. I think the committee found at times that things were left, too late down the line, and they made recommendations around that. So that was very much a theme, and also I think clearer definitions around responsibilities and accountability lines for spending decisions, and the application of value for money to ensure public spending could be seen to be beyond reproach. In terms of issues then for this committee, there are a number that that would be possibilities for the committee to look at. One again would be around the cross-cutting need across government, the sharing of skills and expertise again across the civil service, greater strategic leadership within NICs and lines of accountability. This came out, there was an inquiry into capacity and capability, and this was a theme that came out of that inquiry. So another issue then for the committee, they may want to revisit some of the previous inquiries and the memorandum of replies, and look to see what progress has been made. An example of that very clearly would be the likes of special education needs inquiry, that is something that this committee may want to take up at a later date, and also the capacity and capability in NICs are just two that I can think of. There is a number of outstanding MORs. That is, when I say MOR, I mean it's the response from government, and they weren't able to complete in the last mandate, so we are expecting them, and they, so that you will be getting the responses to some inquiries which I will list to you. Addiction services, which is due very soon. Closing the gap, that was the one into social deprivation and links to educational attainment. The Sports Sustainability Fund, the strategic review on the budget process, broadband investment and planning, those are all due. So that would be an opportunity for this committee to look back at some of that very important work, and at least see where progress has been made, and what follow-up they might decide needs to happen. I think it's fair to say, in planning the work, there will be a lot of new areas that this committee will want to look at, new reports coming on board, which the CNAG will be briefing you on. And really, I think it's just finding the balance between, making sure some of the legacy issues that you see as important don't get lost in time, and also saying forward-looking what it is that you want to focus on as a new committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Clerk, for that. The legacy report that's within your pack is extremely helpful, and I would advise members that they should consider it, just to get a quick insight as to the work that was carried out previously, the important work in a very short time frame of the previous committee, and some very interesting areas. The one thing about the business of this committee is that there is going to be various areas, and there will be something of interest to everybody on the list. So there'll be no shortage in that regard. So I'm looking forward to it. In terms of possible returns to consideration, the special educational needs area is something on all of our minds. It's an ongoing issue. It has not improved, and there's questions probably as to whether lessons have been learned generally, but that is something to consider at a future stage. So it just shows you, it gives you some scope as to the work or remit of the committee, and I do think that members will enjoy their time on the committee. Has members any questions for the clerk? Anything they want to raise? No. Okay. Can I ask members if they're content to note? Okay?
Then-
Don't be shy now. Okay, members, the Northern Ireland Audit Office first day brief is at page 95 of your pack. Can I draw your attention to the Northern Audit Office's brief at page 96 of the pack, setting out the background information on the remit, structure and functions of the Northern Ireland Audit Office, the role of the CNAG, their work in the absence of the Assembly, which is all too frequent, unfortunately, and the PAC's consideration of the CNAG's reports. Can I advise members that the CNAG, the Chief Operating Officer and the Assembly Support Officer will be providing an introductory briefing to this committee. And on that note, can I have the pleasure of thanking you and welcoming you, Ms. Darina Carville, Comptroller and Auditor General, and can we take this opportunity, because we weren't here, to congratulate you on your appointment. And we're very, very excited about working with you and your colleagues in the NAO on the various important aspects of your investigations. Can I also welcome Mr. Rodney Allen, Chief Operating Officer. I've met Rodney at a previous time on the committee, and also Mr. Kyle Bingham, Assembly Support Officer. Kyle, you're known to many of us, so you're all very welcome, and can I thank you for your attendance. Okay, members, correspondence at pages 1 to 2 of your pack. Is that right? Sorry, I've missed. Oh, sorry. Yes, of course. I've nearly put you out before I let you in. My apologies.
Only a short meeting. We're okay.
Effective scrutiny, and then I just shut it down in the first sentence. So sorry.
You're just trying to get into this. No, listen. Thank you very much, and thank you for that very kind welcome, Chair. Good afternoon, members. I'd just like to start by saying how delighted I am to be here addressing you in your first meeting of the Public Accounts Committee and my first meeting as Controller and Auditor General. It's a position I have now held for 18 months, would you believe? And I know some of you will have worked with my predecessor, Kieran Donnelly, and many of you will already be quite familiar with the work of the Northern Ireland Audit Office. You've just been briefed on the legacy report, and I'm sure for those of you that are new like myself, you'll be hugely impressed at the significant impact that the work of this committee makes and the valuable contribution to such a wide and varied range of public services. In your pack, as the Chair has referenced you, we've provided an introductory brief which hopefully you'll find of use for the first few weeks of this committee in particular. I don't intend to repeat it to you, but I would like to highlight for you how the work of the Northern Ireland Audit Office supports and assists this committee. And I'll reference some of the elements of the document just as we go through that. But before I do that, I'm joined today by colleagues Rodney and Kyle, and I've asked Rodney, who is our Chief Operating Officer, just to briefly outline for you some of the key operational aspects of our office that are in development and ongoing presently, just to get a bit of an understanding of our role. So I'll hand over. Okay.
Thank you, Darina, and good afternoon, members. And sorry, I'm an old face back with you again, is maybe the way to put it, but it is good to be back in the room with you. I'd like to take a few minutes just to talk about our new corporate plan for the Northern Ireland Audit Office and outline some of the challenges and indeed the opportunities from the past 2 years and at present. We have referenced in your pack our new corporate plan in pages 6 to 7 of your introductory brief. It's a plan that sets out a strategic direction for the period from 2024 to 2029, so it's very lengthy from this point onwards, but it has a 3-year review point which is done deliberately to tie in with what should be your point at the end of this mandate and before the next new mandate, so it should dovetail nicely with that time. Some of you will already have heard us talk in some detail about the new draft corporate plan that we hope to introduce in the coming weeks, because we have been round most of the political parties and given you a bit of a brief on it, and we appreciate all of the engagement and the time that you've given us. So therefore I will only touch on it fairly briefly today, but I'll major on our vision and indeed our values as an organisation and indeed the strategic priorities that we think we need to have for the period ahead. So starting with our vision, it's quite succinct. Our vision is the independence and excellence in audit to improve public services, and I think that latter bit is absolutely critical. It's been a vision that has been refreshed fairly recently, and we believe it sets for us a fairly high bar that we rightly should be aspiring to achieve. The values of our organisation are partnership, authoritative, curious and truthful. Strong words, but the NIAO is all about being collaborative, engaging and respectful. It's about being credible, being professional, and of course being evidence-based. That said, we need to be tenacious, inquisitive, we need to be open-minded, but critically, we need to be courageous and we need to be fearless and indeed upfront. It can be difficult work in this particular position. It's about saying what needs to be said and doing what needs to be done. Almost sandwiched in between that vision and indeed our values is our purpose. And none of this will surprise you. The purpose of the organisation is about making sure that public money is spent properly. And that's, I think, a very tight little comment to just dovetail nicely into the work of this committee. So the corporate plan sets out 3 key priorities for us, we think, in the period ahead. So I'm just going to talk away very quickly through those. So the first one is about high quality public audit. So really what we want to do is support, enhance and promote high standards in public service administration, accountability arrangements and indeed financial management. Why do we want to do that? Well, the intended outcome is that our stakeholders, of which you're a primary stakeholder, have confidence in our statutory role in providing oversight and indeed assurance on public sector spending. Secondly, we have a responsibility to improve outcomes and accountability. We want to promote and influence public service reform and improvement so that the outcome is that services will indeed be improved by accepting the work of our office, the recommendations that we make, learning from the insights and the expertise and the good practice that we can develop. And thirdly, we have to be very brave and acknowledge up front that it's about investing in our own people and indeed our own resources to be a high-performing organisation. The NIAO is continuously improving our performance, focused on our people. We're dealing with digital changes, constant challenges, and I'll come back to those again very shortly. Now, in the last couple of years, there's been considerable development. My starting point is, of course, with a new Auditor General, which is always a significant event in the life of any public audit institution. And Dorina has been putting her own stamp and indeed direction on the work of the office. Now, I've already told some of you that this is the 3rd Auditor General that I have worked with, and each brings their own perspective and indeed their own independent thought. And without making eye contact with Mr. Butler, I will resist commenting on the question that he asked me previously, which for other members was, tell me, Rodney, who's the best CNAG? No comment. I tried that. So we are very grateful to members in the last mandate, particularly in the Assembly's Audit Committee, providing us with the capital finances to refurbish our building. Some members will have been in the old building, some even worked in the old building. So it's fantastic to have a new building in University Street, excellent modern office accommodation, and we look forward to hosting you there, hopefully in a few weeks' time. We have a new brand, which has delivered a very fresh look to our products, and hopefully it has re-energised how people see us, our overall appearance, and indeed our general impact. We've been introducing some new audit methodologies in our financial audits in particular in response to a standard called ISA 315, which is all about identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatements of financial audits, which Dorina will come on to the amount of work we do in that area. And we have increasing regulatory and indeed professional standards being placed on us as auditors and the work that we undertake. Alongside that, we've been growing areas of expertise that contribute to enhancing our offering. I'm thinking things like data analytics, additional expertise in our IT auditing team, and we've refreshed our approach to public reporting auditing, which is predominantly the work that will come to this committee. So we've had an extensive review of our standards, revised the methodology, and again with the whole intention of enhancing our overall quality. It isn't without its challenges, and the first one I want to mention is recruitment and retention of staff. That has been on a level that I have never experienced in many years of working in the public sector and indeed in public audit. We are predominantly an organisation of professional accountants trading as auditors, and that marketplace has been incredibly difficult. Now we thankfully have, and we've been blessed with many talented people, but keeping them and attracting and retaining more people has been an unprecedented challenge for us. And unsurprisingly, and members, you need to forgive me for this, but I can't not mention our financial position, and I have to touch on it, and the budgetary constraints that we have faced. So over the last 2 years, we've been operating very much with a reduced budget, a budget that was that was previously approved by the Chair's previous committee was cut by the Secretary of State on the advice of the Department of Finance. So we've been operating within a considerably restrained budget. Frankly, that is not sustainable in terms of going forward if we are to deliver the work that we anticipate you and the Assembly will fully expect from us. So you're already cited in some correspondence that we've put into the system at this early stage. We do look forward to engaging with the Assembly's Audit Committee on that in the coming weeks. Now, before I hand the baton back, and Doreen doesn't even know this, I'm a little bit off-piste. I've just come from a session in the office with our senior leadership team and our facilitator on investors and people, and accreditation that we have and are aspiring to do even better with. And I have to say, folks, it has reminded me of the pride that I feel, and indeed the work of the office generates, and the impacts and the reflection on the achievements that we have made in recent times. With that said, I will hand the baton back. Thank you.
Okay.
You're up.
So members, I just want to touch then quite briefly on the work of the office that directly impacts upon this committee. And as CNAG, I am the head of the Northern Ireland Audit Office, and it's an office which employs around 120 staff, the vast majority of which are qualified accountants. And the reason for that is because around 65 to 70% of our work is actually in the area of financial audit. So as Auditor General, I have a responsibility to audit annually the accounts of over 150 public bodies. That's all of the departments, their agencies, many of their arm's length bodies. And that work is of significant importance because it's an annual assurance that's provided around the financial management and the good governance of all of those organisations, set against a really high standard, a globally recognised financial reporting standard. Each of those accounts, as soon as I certify them, they're laid in the Assembly, so they could fall into the remit of this committee should you wish to take an evidence session on any of those. In December last year, I published a report which summarised all of the findings from all of the financial audits that I'd certified in my first 12 months in post. And I'm pleased to know that the vast majority received an unqualified, or in layman's terms, a clean audit opinion. And that's really important, members, for providing trust and confidence in public services. But an important element I give actually 2 audit opinions then. I give a second audit opinion on whether the money has been spent for the purposes intended by the Assembly. And this is something which is referred to as my regularity audit opinion. And that's an additional audit opinion, something that the private sector typically wouldn't give, for example. And so I suppose it's important to understand that our audit opinions go that bit further and that bit deeper, and really looking at how public money is spent. So any matters of financial irregularity, if you like, may be of interest to this committee in really considering how money is spent. I also then report on any department that has overspent the money allocated to it by the Northern Ireland Assembly, and this is called an excess vote. And I'll be bringing a report to this committee in the next few weeks outlining any excess votes that have happened since the beginning of this mandate. And this will allow you as a committee to consider and then make recommendations to the Assembly. But the area of work that is arguably of most significance to you is then our public reporting work, also referred to as our value for money studies. And like the remit of this committee, the remit in my office is very, very wide-ranging and cross-cutting in this regard. And legislation permits me then to look at the economy, the efficiency, or the effectiveness of public spending. And so in the office, we formulate a work programme that in this area that's strategic. It really involves significant areas of spend, and it's very much designed to make a positive impact and to improve public services. So despite a number of challenges faced by the office, as Rodney has alluded to, I'm pleased to advise you that we have published a large volume of reports in this area, which I hope will really help inform and assist this committee as you move forward with your inquiries. And in this Assembly mandate to date, we have published 20 reports over a really wide range of subjects and departments, and we intend to publish a further 7 before summer recess. These are listed for you in Appendix 3 and 4 of your brief, and I will be coming back to the committee with a very detailed briefing at a future meeting on each of those reports. One of the reports published to date is in the area of ministerial directions, which I know the clerk has referred to. So any ministerial direction is notified to me by the relevant department, and I in turn will then advise this committee of that direction. And there have been 12 ministerial directions since the last sitting of this committee. So again, I'll be bringing these to a future meeting of the committee. We have been working to develop a forward work programme for our work, which is focused around strategic themes which we think are of critical importance to public services in the future. And that's around the themes of climate, sustainability, digital and skills, and improving public services. Work has commenced on many of our forward studies, and these are listed at Appendix 5 of our brief. So I sincerely look forward to working with you as a committee, providing you with more detailed briefing on our reports to enable you to plan your forward work programme in the period ahead, and in due course assisting you in your inquiries. So finally, we outline in our brief the various ways that we can assist and support the committee, and I will end by introducing Kyle, who is our Assembly Support Officer. He is a key contact for you committee members. So just to pass over.
Thank you, Lorena. Good afternoon, Chair and members. It really is an honour for me to be back here again supporting this committee. I really enjoyed it the last time, and I know I'm going to enjoy the next months ahead and helping the committee supporting through its work. My contact details are all in the introductory pack or our brief, and if you or any of your party colleagues have any questions or about the work of our office or about my role or want to raise anything or discuss anything relating to the work that we do that's relevant, please feel free to contact me at any time.
Thank you. Thank you for that information and an insight into the important work that you do. I think it's entirely important at this point just to pay tribute to Kieran Donnelly and the huge commitment that he gave to such an important, front-facing, challenging public role, public service, which he did for quite a number of years. 13 years was it, or was it 13 years? Which is quite an achievement. So from this committee we wish him well and thank him for everything that he did in that important role. And of course we wish you well in following in those footsteps. You're 18 months ahead of us, so it's all good. I just have a number of points before we move on. I just want, in terms of the reports, how do you decide on what VFM reports and how do you decide which ones basically you go forward with, and how far in advance do you plan for those areas?
So at the minute we are we've developed a 3-year forward look. Contained within your pack is year 1 of that 3 years, and we purposely want to stay agile and responsive. I was also very conscious that we have been developing this in the absence of a Public Accounts Committee. So I really do want to engage and understand areas of interest to the committee as well in the work that we would bring forward. In terms of as to how we have arrived at this, we've done various stakeholder engagement. We have been looking at strategic issues across government, looking at legacy reports, etc. And again, trying to be as broad and as impactful as possible. But leaving space to be reactive and to really deal with the issues that we feel are important and will make maximum impact in the areas of public spending going forward.
You just touched in an area, and I don't want to go into too much today, but just that you've raised it now. 12 ministerial directions. Is there any particular department that availed of that more than others?
Really across a wide range of departments now. The 12 that were, there was a period which the committee have already taken evidence of COVID related ones. So the departments that were more heavily involved in making payments were, I suppose, more heavily involved in ministerial directions during that time. Of the 12 that are coming back to you, I think it's quite a broad spectrum.
Yeah, it ranges from health, economy, DAERA, and I wouldn't say there's one particularly more prevalent. There's maybe one with 3 directions, another one with 2, and another one with 2, but they quickly add up.
Okay, we'll look forward to delving into those further at a future session. And just to touch on a final point, Colin wants in briefly, but just to touch on a final point around the work that is carried out by the Northern Ireland Audit Office. Hugely important and vital. I recognise, and I'm sure others around this table and throughout this assembly recognise the importance of the role that you have, particularly in the absence of these institutions, to do the work that you have done in the absence of accountability here, particularly with a restricted and limited resource budget. I have no doubt is extremely challenging and has been. We will be reinforcing, certainly I will be reinforcing the importance of the role that you have in ensuring the public money is looked after and spent appropriately, and also that you'll have certainly our support, I'm sure. The public are very frustrated with the lack of accountability and scrutiny of public money. There's a huge level of frustration. We all hear it. So the role that you do is vital to that, alongside this committee. And I'm sure I speak for all members in saying that. So I want to thank you for the work you have done in the last 18 months in the absence of this committee and these institutions, because it is very important, and it is unfortunate that the Secretary of State cut your budget at a time when he should have actually been increasing your budget. So that probably give you a flavour of where I stand on it. Colin?
Sure. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I suppose we're coming from a briefing there in an earlier committee around the budgeting process and all of that, and it is extremely opaque in many ways to try to follow money, to try to identify is the spend matching up with the outcomes that have been put in place, or so is that part of your role to cut through that, or to work to get a more transparent system in place? Or is it more of a case-by-case basis, where if we come to you and say, there's an issue that we think needs looked at, is it which?
Yeah, so we don't have a role to play in the budgetary process ourselves in getting involved in it. I know the Fiscal Council have done a little bit of work in that area as well. We focus on whether the money then allocated in the budget has been spent for the purposes intended as part of that allocation. So I suppose in process terms we come a little bit after that. We do and we can and do make recommendations around transparency, in all areas, and that could include in the budgetary processes as well. And we have a report which is it's not finalised, it's being worked on at the minute, looking at some of the areas of budget, but not as to how allocations are made as such, but more in the spend of the budget thereafter.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you. David?
Lovely to meet you all, so first time I met, so and thank you for your briefing. Just a quick one, I was looking at Appendix 5, just has come in. You've got, I'm interested in this when it comes up, so I sit in the economy committee, but it's building skills for a modern economy and those sort of reports coming through. Is there anything in the pipeline, and I'll welcome that in the skills for the modern economy, but are just on the economy? So just where we sit now, the deficit that Northern Ireland's had for many years, and how we tweak that economy to maximise opportunities that we have, that we can change that. And then secondly, looking at green technologies and new advancement in those technologies, biogas and that industry. And with RHI subsidies and all stopped, but whenever you look at the graph of the amount of moving towards green technology, it also stopped whenever the subsidies stopped. So we've got carbon targets or emission targets on one hand, yet what's happening on the other, kind of to deliver it, if you like. Those are sort of, is there anything in those coming in the pipeline forward?
So we haven't got any reports planned at this point in that broad range of the economy. I was quite mindful that there was a review of Invest NI quite recently done by Sir Michael Lyons, and I wasn't long into post, but our office gave some input to that review team. So quite mindful. I suppose one of the things that I'm quite conscious of as well is that, I have to provide value for money in the work that I do. So if there's too many people in one space at one time, it can sometimes be not value for money, but that's certainly something we're always looking at our forward work programme and the issues that matter. So it's certainly something we'll take away. In terms of green growth and all the areas of green technologies, we published a report with each of our sister audit agencies within the last 12 months, and it was really quite a position piece as to where we are as against Scotland, Wales and England in all playing our part in achieving the UK's targets on net zero. Very factual position piece. We have a piece around strategic review of energy efficiency, and again there are some targets which the departments will come up have to report on this year, so we will want to look at those and report on those and whether the department is set to achieve its targets or not. So there is certain things in the pipeline, maybe not fully meeting your needs at this point.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, David. Thank you, Diane.
Thanks very much. Good to see you all here in this capacity. Look forward to getting stuck into the work here. A criticism, obviously that it comes up is when things come to PAC, they're quite far in the past. So just be keen to think to your perspective of when we're bringing it here, how do we keep it live? So there'll be the published report, that'll be at a point in time, but whatever we can do to keep the topic live. And especially, I was actually at Finance Committee yesterday, and they were mentioning your capital project report coming in, is it next week? Yeah. So I think there's some big numbers and big criticisms coming through, so very live, very, very current, and just keen to just flag that, keep it here, and keep it fresh across all the reports, just to make the most effective use of us here in the live environment, especially capital programmes, so much money involved in the tight budget that we're in.
No, absolutely agree.
Having the committee just to chip in very quickly is very, very helpful for us too, because sometimes it can be difficult to clear our products. So if we know that the committee is particularly interested to take a report at a particular point in time, that's helpful.
Thank you, Dan. I'm sure there's plenty of topical areas that we'll be fascinated with in the next couple of weeks. And, some very interesting, I'm told. Cathal?
Thank you, Chair. And Trina, I want to wish you all the best, officially. And obviously, I had pleasure working with Kieran and the group before. So even though when I seen you earlier on, I said, what have I done wrong to get back in the committee? I mean, the thing for me in this committee, and it has grown and has learned from all the reports. And for people who are not familiar, there's a good body of work in every one of those reports if it's used properly. The problem we do have sometimes, and it's obviously for another day, but we'll use it here, I'll state it now, is that it's how we use it as a committee and the opportunities within the chamber and all the information, because it's about value for money at the end of the day. So and it's funny, David was asking about the body of work, and there's a substantial body of work there to come, and very interesting topics and very important topics. My point obviously goes back to the likes of the spend and the access votes and all those things that we'll be watching out for now. We know, I've experienced in the past, but clearly value for money, where the money's going and being properly spent is very important, but also the work of the witnesses that come forward, mainly the accounting officers, and also the quality of questioning and all of that's going to be a key role and a key part. And it's just like, I only say that because I have experience of it, but I think there's a good enough team here today. We've got together, and I'm looking forward to this team. But just to keep us informed, and I've said to all, there's an opportunity for anybody to engage with the chair or the committee or official or anything else. So look forward to it. And I see Kieran about in odd time, but if you do see him, tell him we're asking for him, and just to acknowledge the work of the last committee as well, because we know we've done a lot. So just a few comments really rather than a question, you know. But if you want to comment more on access votes, I'm happy enough to take it.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for that. And just to reiterate, you know, we are here to assist the committee, so please, we're more than happy to assist and advise in any way that you require going forward.
And one of the things that we've already talked about that the previous committee did do was Clark carved out time to have a committee session with us on a more strategic landscape look ahead, and maybe in the coming months, you've plenty on your plates for now, but maybe in the coming months we get to that stage where we can sit down with you and spend a bit of time thinking what you would really like to see in our product line for 25-26.
Thank you, Cathal, and thank you, Dorina, Rodney and Kyle. You're very welcome to stay until the session completes, so thank you. For that. Okay, members, can I refer you to pages 122 of your pack and 123. There are 8 items of correspondence in the main pack. An index is included at page 123 with the correspondence included at pages 125 to 320. Can I refer members to the table of correspondence at page 123 of your pack, which details the correspondence received from the 17th of January 2022 to the 12th of January 2024. Can I seek agreement to note items 1 to 7 of the correspondence? Unless any members have anything to raise. No? Okay. Can I seek agreement to write to the individual who has requested a signed copy of the minutes, the minutes of this first meeting, in response to his request for memorabilia? So it's not often we get asked for signatures, folks, or autographs, so lap it up whenever we can. It's at page 320 of your pack. And also, given the nature of the request, and you'll see from the correspondence the individual in question, I've no doubt very keen. I think it's entirely appropriate, given that we're going to be a very front-facing, open committee, that we invite the individual in question to attend in the public gallery and meet with members thereafter. So the person can get a picture with the signed copy of the minutes if need be. All agreed, members? Okay, thank you. Can I refer members to the tabled pack and to a letter to the chairperson of the Finance Committee from the CNAG about the proposed budget allocation to the Northern Ireland Audit Office? Can I invite Dorina, CNAG, to speak to the letter? Oh, you're happy enough? That's okay. Well, the letter speaks for itself anyway, and all of us will recognise the importance of it. Members, can I seek agreement to refer the letter to the Audit Committee? All agreed?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, members. Can I refer members to the list of reports received during dissolution and advise members that any report that is relevant will be brought to the attention of members in due course? Can I also remind members that the CNAG and our team have already referred to several of these reports today, and we will go into them in more detail going forward. But if need be, members, just to touch on it briefly, can I propose we go into closed session and have a brief discussion about some of the areas that may be of interest for our inquiry? All agreed? Great. Okay, Clerk, can we move into closed session?